Regal Vice Company, manufacturers of the world's best fly tying vices and accessories. Find them at regalvice.com.
All right, we're going to tie a pattern today called the Buckle Bunny. This is a great little pattern for fall fishing. Fall's in the air, it's about ready time for streamers, and I've been fishing this pattern for the last couple seasons with some great success. So we're going to start out with a size 1 Universal Predator hook from Partridge, and we're going to take some 210 flat wax nylon, and we're going to lay down a little base of thread here. I'm going to stop right about where the barb's at. Okay, we'll take our yellow marabou. We'll take a couple pieces here, match up the tips. We're going to tie this in. About a shank and a half or so. That'll give us a nice good taper to this pattern as we do the front part. So a couple wraps in the back, take your stuff forward, and then keep it right on the top of the hook so that we have a nice uniform underbody. Go ahead and clip that off. And then we'll get that back down. Go back to where we started. Now we're going to take some gold flashabou. Okay. I'm going to take about, I mean, this is to taste, but you can do about 4 or 5 pieces. I'm going to go ahead and tie that in at the midpoint. So I'm just folding it around my thread, clamping it, and then I'm going to give one wrap over the top and one wrap in front just to lock it down, and then I can split it. Take 4 on this side, and then what we're going to do is wrap over the top, up front, pull it right back down the side here, and you can pull that over, make sure it's nice and parallel with your hook. Okay, a couple tight wraps over the top. Then I'm going to clip that just a little bit longer than the tail. We're going to go with some yellow polar chenille. You can also, if you want to update, a good update to this pattern that I've been using is this polar reflector flash. Came out this year from Hairline. Great new product, a little bit flashier, a little bit more body to it. We're going to do the original today that I've been using, which is just the standard yellow polar chenille. Okay, we're going to go to, this is a Whiting Farms American Rooster saddle. This is the barred yellow, the grizzly yellow. This one's a little longer, so we're going to start a little bit down the feather so we can get some barb length. Cut that off and tie it in. And we can take this to the front. What we're going to do with this is that polar chenille is one-sided. So if we put that the blank side up against the feather, we get a nice cup around that, and we get a good equal distribution of the saddle to the polar chenille. And we're just going to go ahead and wrap that forward. If anything gets trapped down, don't worry, we're going to pick it out. As we get longer into these barbules. You just want to make sure you're not trapping those down too much, otherwise they won't pick out when we do take the comb to it. But as you can see, what I like about doing it with this method instead of spinning it or getting it together is that you get a nice even distribution and a lined effect of polar chenille to the saddle. And it kind of props up that polar chenille and that saddle to where you get a nice effect there. All right, we're going to go to another plume of marabou. This is the Extra Select marabou. And we're only looking for probably 4 or 5 wraps tops on this, depending on what feather. This one's a little thicker, so we might go a little bit less. You'll notice I do this with most of my streamers on this back hook. I think it helps that transition from the front hook to the back hook to where it looks uniform as a cohesive fly. And we'll tie off. Couple wraps on top of the stem, couple wraps in front. Clip the stem, and then you can pull out anything that gets trapped. Okay, and then we'll makes a nice veil over the top of the fly. Add some depth with that saddle underneath. We're going to go to, you can add yellow legs to this. Brown is a good variation on this one, but I like these fluorescent fire orange grizzly flutter legs. We're going to take 2. We're going to fold it over the top of the thread, give 1 wrap, 2 wraps, and then pull it over the front. Do the same thing, 2 wraps. Make sure that those are straight, then you can tighten down, cover up those ends. Okay, then we'll go ahead and whip finish here. Okay, we want to cut these to where they're about halfway into the tail. I like having that little bit of orange in my yellow patterns. I think it just gives a good contrast and a little bit of a trigger for those fish, and I just think it's really effective. All right, we're going to go to our front hook. We'll take our wire, and we can go ahead and take that and find our middle point. Put our back hook on. And then these are the 3D beads from Hairline. Okay, 1 or 2. We're just going to do 1 on this one. Take the same hook. This is a Universal Predator size 1. You can, if you want to make this 1 size bigger in the front or 1 size smaller in the back, that's your choice. Okay, we'll go back to where the barb is. We're going to take our back hook and keep these on top of the shank. And then you want about a bead or so worth of space behind there. Make sure they're on top so that we open that loop correctly, and then we can start doing tighter wraps over the top. Oh, gotta watch that front end of that wire can get a little sharp. You can cut your thread. That's what happened there. and we can tighten down on top of this. Okay, we're still going to start right down back there at the barb. Okay, we'll go back to our Whiting Farms saddle. We're just going to put some wraps back here. This is going to help to add for a little bit of a prop. It's not much, but it's I think it's really effective when I want a little more body in this front hook. Also gives a little bit of a transitional depth. So we're using a material that's not really going to add any weight or lack of sinkability in the fly. It's going to help to prop up this marabou that we're putting in front of there so that it doesn't just flatten out on the junction point. And this American Rooster is really good for this just because it's a little stiffer than Schlappen, but it still is going to lay back a little bit, so you're not going to lose movement, or it's not going to change the shape of what this marabou in the front is going to be. Okay, before we do this, I'm going to take a little bit of lead, or lead-free. I'm just going to take this and add a little bit here in the front. This just helps it to break that surface tension and get down just a little bit. This is an unweighted fly other than this. You can obviously put dumbbell eyes or whatever you want on here. I just like this little bit of weight in the front. We'll cover up those thread wraps. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put our eyes in next. These are the MFC weightless eyes. Great product. I love them. They're awesome. You can obviously make your own as well. Just a piece of 20-pound mono, and some of the resins that we have nowadays are perfect. You can make whatever eyes you want. So we're gonna flip those underneath. I'm putting them. The center point has about a hook eye length behind. That's really all you need. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to go around the base and cinch those wraps down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back around the base. Whoop. Gotta watch the edge of these eyes. If you rub up on them real tight, you can kind of fray your thread. Okay, we'll just add a little drop of super glue there since I broke off, just for some added security. Okay, we'll go back to our extra select marabou. We're going to tip out 2 different pieces. Cut those off. Flip this back around straight. Okay, and then we're just going to wrap these together. We'll probably do that as enough. Clip out those stems. there's anything trapped down, we'll go ahead and get those out with our scissors. A couple real tight wraps. We can actually go back with our brush. Okay. So you can see that schlappen, or that rooster saddle does give a little bit more profile than what if you were to do this without that. So if you want it to be a little less profile, go for it. Don't skip that point. Okay, so this is MFC Bunny Brush. This is the olive and brown. I like this combination with the yellow. Gives a little bit darker head to it. But it's you can obviously use a yellow, straight yellow on this as well. They also have a yellow and an orange tipped one. It looks pretty cool as well. But before we do that, we're going to put in another set of legs. So 2 more fluorescent orange, the fire orange. We're going to put 2 on one side. And then fold them over. Okay. And about the same length as those previous ones. Kind of just bleeds in together. Okay, we'll tie in this bunny brush here. It's essentially rabbit hide without the weight of the actual hide on a steel core. So awesome material, not a lot of weight, doesn't hold water when you're casting, so it's really easy to cast when you're done with it. So 1, 2. This one's a little thicker, so we'll probably do 3. If it's a little thinner of a one, you can do 4 behind that, the eyes. And 1. We're just going to figure 8 around the eyes. And then we want to bring that core right through the center. You can kind of wet your fingers a little bit to get all of that out of the way so you're not tying it down. Okay, pull that down and across, and we'll tie off that metal core. A couple tight wraps on it, a couple tight wraps in front. You can clip that off and then bury the extra. Be careful, you don't want to break your thread right here. You want to make sure that you're burying that core but not fraying your thread on it. And we'll go ahead and whip finish. Okay, and then we can take our brush, make sure that rabbit's nice and poofy. Adds a lot of movement in the water, in the head, integrates back into that marabou. I really like the orange legs on this one. You can do it with any other leg you want, but this is a killer pattern for fall. I'm going to take a little bit of this Deer Creek resin and just put it on the thread wraps here in the front. Getting low. Got a little bit in the eye here. Okay, and then you can take your torch and hit it. You can see that those legs just light up. Love how that looks in the water as well. But that is an awesome pattern for fall fishing. Yellow can be really productive, really easy to cast, really swims and moves in the water, breathes really well. That's the Buckle Bunny. Find them on RockyMountainFlyDesign.com or tie them up yourself. Thanks.
Find this pattern and more at RockyMountainFlyDesign.com, and make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updated news and events.